Did you know that kids eat 1,095 meals every year?
And if you include snacks, it's more like 4 trillion meals a year. The best part is that we parents have the grand honor of making sure they're fed each and every one.
Honestly, the responsibility kind of sucks sometimes, but we're here with some real help and camaraderie too.
We're Stacy and Megan, hosts of Didn't I Just Feed You, a weekly podcast that gets real about what it takes to feed our families.
We're two longtime food professionals who, between us, have worked on 5 cookbooks, 2 television shows, countless stories for publications like Better Homes and Gardens, Every Day with Rachel Ray, Epicurious, and TheKitchen.com.
Between us, we also parent 4 kids between the ages of 7 and 16. Despite all of this work experience, at the end of the day, we too are just 2 working parents who also get tired making meals happen at home.
Tune in to Didn't I Just Feed You for kitchen tricks, product recommendations, and tons of meal ideas, like how to turn nachos into a legit family dinner. Get inspired by our bi-weekly What We're Cooking and Eating Now series, or check out how to get your cooking mojo back for even more ideas. Listen to Didn't I Just Feed You wherever you get your podcasts.
I need a snack.
With the busy fall season already in a swing, you might be looking for wholesome, convenient meals for those jam-packed days. Well, Factor, America's #1 ready-to-eat meal kit, can help you fuel up fast with chef-prepared, dietitian-approved, ready-to-eat meals delivered straight to your door. These meals are great to help you nourish yourself well during your pregnancy, and they come in super handy in the postpartum period to free up your time and allow you to focus on what's most important: getting to know your sweet new baby and settling into motherhood. Listen, I have a family of snobby eaters, and all 4 of us loved these meals. We went with the vegetarian versions, and I'm not lying, every single one was delicious. So skip that extra trip to the grocery store, skip the chopping, the prepping, the cleaning up too, while you still get the flavor and nutritional quality you need. These fresh, never frozen meals are ready in just 2 minutes, so all you gotta do is heat it up and enjoy. Head to factormeals.com/Dr. Nicole 50 and use code Dr. Nicole 50 to get 50% off. That's code Dr. Nicole 50 at factormeals.com/Dr. Nicole 50 to get 50% off today. Just because breastfeeding is natural doesn't mean it's easy, but you don't have to do it alone. That's where the Lactation Network comes in. The Lactation Network helps parents at every stage of the breastfeeding journey, whether you need support resolving feeding issues, choosing the right breast pump, creating a plan for weaning, or anything in between. The Lactation Network is the largest network of licensed breastfeeding experts in the country. They provide in-home, in-office, and telehealth consultations in all 50 states with no out-of-pocket cost. Get the breastfeeding care you deserve with the Lactation Network. Visit tln.care to schedule your own insurance-covered lactation consultation today. In this episode, I'm going to talk a bit about the term pregnant people. Welcome to the All About Pregnancy and Birth podcast. I'm Dr. Nicole Calloway Rankins, a board-certified OBGYN who's been in practice for nearly 15 years. I've had the privilege of helping over 1,000 babies into this world, and I'm here to help you be calm, confident, and empowered to have a beautiful pregnancy and birth. Quick note, this podcast is for educational purposes only and is not a substitute for medical advice. Check out the full disclaimer at drnicolerankins.com/disclaimer. Now let's get to it. Hello there. Welcome to another episode of the podcast. Whether you are a new listener or a returning listener, I am so glad that you're spending some time with me today. So this is a short episode, and in these short episodes, I talk about a topic or I share a story from the hospital. And in this episode, I'm going to talk about the term pregnant person or pregnant people. The term pregnant or birthing person is an inclusive term that recognizes that not everyone who is pregnant or giving birth identifies as a woman. Now, with that being said, there are some who are pregnant, maybe even most who are pregnant, who absolutely do identify as being a woman. I know that I personally very much so identify with being a woman. And even though I am a person, I want to be referred to as a woman. Also, as a Black woman, I'm already very sensitive to not being included in spaces. So it is impossible for me not to include terms that reflect me in my own space. So whether that is here in the podcast or whether that is on social media, I am going to include terms that reflect me. So I'm going to say Black. I prefer Black as opposed to African American. I'm going to say woman. I'm going to say mother. Because again, those are terms that reflect me. And in my space, I am most definitely going to see myself. However, that same thing that makes me sensitive to being included in my own space also makes me want to include others. So it is important for me to use inclusive terms too. So you may hear me say pregnant person in one sentence, and then the next sentence you'll hear me say pregnant woman. Or sometimes I'll even say pregnant person or woman, or pregnant woman or person. Or sometimes I'll say pregnant folks or birthing folks and mix the terms together. So essentially, I use both. I alternate using the terms woman, women, mother, mamas, person, persons in reference to pregnancy and birth. Now, if your instinct is to hear this and say, oh my God, I cannot believe she uses the term pregnant person, only women can give birth, then I have a couple of things to say. So one is I have done this for at least 2 years on this podcast. So if you go back and listen for it, you will hear it. I guarantee you, I promise you, you'll hear it. All of us OBGYNs recommend that you take a prenatal supplement during pregnancy and ideally at least 3 months before getting pregnant. But which product is right for you, and will it have all of the nutrients you need for every stage of your journey? Choosing a prenatal can be so confusing, and that is why I am delighted to tell you about Element, which takes all the stress out of the process. Element is the first ever personalized prenatal supplement. It's designed by maternal fetal medicine doctors and is not only customized for each person, but it also changes over time for each stage of your journey from preconception to postpartum. Element provides a tailored prenatal supplement whether you have certain dietary preferences or a high-risk pregnancy or nutritional deficiencies like low iron or vitamin D. And every 30 days, they can adjust your prenatal protocol to make sure it is the perfect fit for you. Also, Element has exceptional ingredient quality, no fillers, no additives, and the packaging is eco-friendly too. Every pregnancy is unique, and your prenatal should be too. So visit helloelement.com. That's Element with 2 L's, and use the code Dr. Nicole to get 20% off your first order today. I point that out to say that if you are a podcast listener and you have listened to many episodes and you have that initial negative reaction to the term pregnant person, you have been hearing it whether you realize it or not. And if you kept listening, then perhaps it hasn't bothered you as much as you might think. All right. So that's number one. And then the second thing that I'll say is that I get it. I had this initial awkward reaction at first for me to use the term pregnant person. It doesn't feel natural to me to use that term. But I took a step back and I had to realize that it does not take anything away from me to acknowledge someone as how they see themselves. And we have to let go of the narrative that one group being acknowledged diminishes another. That does not have to be the case. We have to choose for it not to be the case. That is an active step and an intentional act of recognizing someone else's humanity and how they show up in this world. I will also say that I learned a whole lot about this from my children. I have teenagers now, and they have gone to school with and been friends with children who have non-traditional gender expression. And when I tell you, it is absolutely no big deal to them. No big deal at all. It is not confusing. It's actually very straightforward for them. For them, each person is just who they are. It really is that simple. It's not about prescribing predetermined roles or how people should be. Each person is just who they are. They are just so completely unfazed by this that it has been amazing to watch and learn from and grow from. And I will also add that it has not affected how they see themselves. They still have their own personal, strong sense of who they are. So I'm not sure that I have the best practice in terms of how I balance the terms, but it seems to work out okay. And I am always, as I am in life, willing to evaluate things and adjust as needed. That's part of helping yourself be a better human being. So the bottom line is we can make room for all of us if we choose to do so, and I choose to do so. So that is it for this short episode. If you like the podcast, then do me a favor, leave me a 5-star review in Apple Podcast. I so appreciate it. And then I would love to hear your thoughts about this episode. You can head to my website, drnicolerankins.com, and fill out the contact form and let me know there. Or you can shoot me a DM on Instagram. I'm on Instagram at Dr. Nicole Rankins. You can also follow me on Instagram and get other great pregnancy and birth information there as well. So that's it for this episode. Do come on back next week and remember that you deserve a beautiful pregnancy and birth.